Hey everybody, it's Jim of Anime Educated. Today we have a special guest, Justin Rasch, who is a writer, director, actor, producer, but mainly he does a lot of CG and stop motion, and you do your own stunts as well.
Yeah.
So welcome to Anime Educated. You again, I saw your animation of on the Pinocchio, the latest one, with the monkey kind of coming down and all the background characters, and it's a camera move and it's following the guy and all that. How did you first start off with getting into this field?
I went to art school back in the early 90s with my brother because we wanted to do special effects for movies. We grew up loving 2D animation. We grew up loving, uh, anything from the 80s, Phil Tippett, monsters, creature features, the old Sinbads, the Harryhausen stuff. Everything of that was just like so inspiring, and we would dork out on it heavily. So when we found an art school that taught you how to do special effects, we decided to go there, and that was the Art Institute of Pittsburgh. It was the very first art institute that was ever made, and they had, Pennsylvania had a very, rich effects in like zombie slash filmmaking creature feature stuff, culture there through some people that made it. And so they had some of the teachers, and we were, really excited to go be a part of it. So I did that. I went to art school. I learned to 2D animate. I learned to do some practical stuff. And then Jurassic Park came out, and that switched my whole career trajectory because I had a kid at the time, and I was like, okay, I can tell that's the future. And I changed my major, fairly early to out of practical, which was called industrial design at the time, to CG animation. So, and CG was still pretty raw and new at that place. We only had a few quarters of actually learning the computer, but we were, traditionally trained in 2D animation mainly at that point. But those same fundamentals would transfer over, and I really responded to the computer as far as like the ability to make my own films and only need me was really, really exciting. I was like, wow, I can do cameras, I can do lights, I can do animation, I can do modeling, environments. Like that whole film studio in a box kind of blew my mind. So I really, it just clicked at the same time as, all my traditional other, dorkery that I loved. So that basically made me a demo reel that got me into the CG industry, and then that's where I've been for 26 years.
And you've worked on a bunch of video games and all sorts of stuff. If you go to his IMDb page, you'll see what I'm talking about, and it's pretty impressive to see not just all those titles, but like all the different things you've done. You also, it said you did some stunts. You were like an actor, I guess, for motion capture for certain things. So
Yeah, my very first job was for a Japanese video game company called Konami, and out of art school, and they were. I have a movement background. I should say that first, right? So I've done gymnastics, I've done martial arts, I've done BMX and skateboarding, like a lot of different physical activities that I grew up doing. And so Konami was hiring actors and stunt people for a motion capture game that they were doing. This is back in 90, I don't know, 93, something like that, maybe 94. And I was on the game team, and I'm like looking at the demo reels of all these actors and stunt people from LA, and I'm like, man, I was young and full of beans, and I'm like, I could do all this better than these guys. And so I actually had one of the guys go with me to the park and make a demo reel, a VHS demo reel with me of what I could do. So I was like jumping off swing sets and flipping around, and just basically doing parkour before it was called parkour.
you invented that, right?
No, but I think me and my brother invented it. Now
Yeah.
we I think it's been around for a long time, but that's when it got called that. But we did a bunch of stuff. I made a demo reel and I put it in the pile where the demo reels were of all the people, and I got chosen. So I they shipped me out to L.A., actually Venice, to do House of Moves, I believe was the studio we did it at, and I ended up doing like a couple weeks of stunt work and acting for a video game. I did like a lot of work, and really got my first introduction to motion capture world. And because I was working with a stunt coordinator on that project, he was like, you're good at this. Like, he was giving me some props. Is like, there's this many jobs every day in Hollywood, and like, you could have one of those jobs. And I was like, wow, okay, that's cool. And like, I haven't set this up, but like, if I wanted to be two things in the universe as a young kid, it was to be a stunt person and an animator, right? Like to make movies with through animation or artwork, something like that. And I was like, oh my god, this is like the hugest, you know, connection of the two things I love most in the universe. And so that opened the door to me getting more motion capture jobs and more stunt situations. And then as I went working through the games industry over the next decade, motion capture became a thing where a lot of games were utilizing it, and I kept getting pulled into these, or I would have one of the studios call me or a stunt person that I know say, "Hey, come help us out with this thing." I'd be like, "Yeah, sure, this is fun." So I would just jump in and out of projects every once in a while.
When did you
Yeah,
have time to actually make your own short films?
at night when everyone
Ah,
was sleeping.
okay.
That's the only time I could find it because I had three kids, so it's like basically after everybody goes to sleep, I would work on my private projects or like personal projects, and develop basically my stop motion skills because that's kind of where I started. We started, me and my wife became a company, right? But when we first, I would make short films every couple of years as I graduated art school just for me because it just feels good to make your own work. And one of them, I was like, after 10 years in the industry, I was like, I got to do something with my hands. I hate everything being on this box, right? Like, I want to create something real. And then that was kind of the initial gusto to start stop motion. And then we made a short film in stop motion called Gerald's Last Day. And that really set us off to being like, oh, wow, this is amazing. And I get to work with my family and my wife and my kids and really, feel the tangible love that I want, me and my brother loved watching these films. And the fact that I could do that when I thought that time had passed was really, really, magical and special.
There's two films out there that are going to be pretty big
Yeah.
that have your work in them. One you did the CG, which was on Wendell and Wild.
Oh, I did more than CG. I did stop motion too. It was like 4 years ago. They started in Los Angeles, where Netflix was kind of based, and they Henry Selick and just a couple of animators, Anthony Scott and Michael Granberry, were in a studio, kind of doing a test to show what it would look like if it would be approved and greenlit. So they took one sequence from the film, Winnow and Wild, and they animated it in full stop motion so that they could kind of pitch it to Netflix to see if they would thumbs up it. So I was called in to help out since I was in LA. It's on weekends. I can help out. Sure, no problem. And I got to do it's a sequence in the very beginning, okay, where they're on top of the devil guy's head and they're planting hairs and using the drug on his hair.
Oh, right, right.
And it's where the guy starts eating the stuff getting high. So it's during that sequence. There's a couple shots where Wendell gets mad at Wild and is chasing him around and like scatting at him and everything, and then the other guy's avoiding him, the chubby guy with his wings, and eating all the sauce and stuff like that. I got to do a little bit at the very, very beginning and a little bit at the very, very end to touch both films, which was really cool.
What is a stunt puppet anyway?
All the films that we've made, we always make 3 puppets for every short for each character because things break all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So usually out of those 3, you'll have one that's really pretty and one that's not quite as pretty of the same mold, right? It could be the paint job, it could be the foam, how it came out, or the silicone, whatever it is. So what we would end up doing is you kind of save the prettiest for the close-ups, and we call that the actor puppet. And then you have kind of your mid-range. He can do a little bit of both puppet, which is like the middle guy, right? And then there's the stunt puppet, right? And stunt puppet does most of the legwork in a short. Like he's flipping, jumping, doing all the big action stuff that really needs something that can move and groove and take all the mileage. So the stunt puppet became very important to all our films, and then that became stunt puppet pictures. We did not set out to make a studio. That's the thing that was the most biggest surprise. Is like I always was like, I want to make films. I want to do create. I want to write and direct and do all these things. But like running a studio was not something I was that interested in. But it just kept happening where people kept calling us for jobs from seeing our stuff on social media, and then me and my wife would do a project at the same time as working our CG jobs. My wife's a full-time therapist. I was working at Blizzard in the cinematics department, and like so we would do nights making these shots or these shorts for different companies, and it was really great and really fun, but it was too much. It's just like, okay, I'm getting older, I can't stay up all night anymore like I used to. I gotta have a little more sanity. And then what happened was we ended up moving to Oregon, which was huge to leave LA. And then we just kept getting more jobs than we could handle. And I'm like, wow, babe, the universe is telling us it's time to just do this full time. Like we don't need to work for a big CG or a CG studio or whatever anymore. Let's like listen to the universe, because what we want to do is make our movies. This is how. Oh, this is the other thing too. Is I want to direct, right? How do you become a director? You have to direct, right? And how do you the last 2 years I was at Blizzard, I was made a director, right? So that was a huge goal to have an official company make me a director. And then, but I'm directing again their stuff, right? I'm getting to be creative about it, but I want to direct our stories and our films, and we want to move more towards live action and animation and writing some more personal stuff. So we're like, okay, this is how we do it. We do our jobs, we write these or we make commercials, we make shorts, and then we really dedicate time to our films and moving towards making a feature, which is what I want to do, what we want to do.
So have you thought of what kind of feature you're going to make, or is it?
Oh yeah,
still
look, we're ready, dude.
You're ready. Okay,
yeah,
good.
We know exactly what we want to do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, we have a couple of scripts that we're basically working with. One's a full animated script, and then the other one is a live action hybrid. Not a basically it's more along the Harryhausen line. It's kind of the stuff that I grew up with, which was effects, 80s traditional puppeteer effects type stuff like Gremlins or like Labyrinth or Dark Crystal, but it has modern stop motion skills, if I can say that, and modern compositing. And but it's a dramatic story. It's a kid adventure, and it has creatures. So that's right now what we're doing a lot of baby steps towards, is getting that one tested, pitched, and ready to go out.
Cool. There's some people that want to be directors or something, and it's like, well, it's not like you just, I've got my degree and now I'm a director.
Yeah.
You have to kind of pay your dues and kind of learn on your own. And so
yeah, absolutely. You have to. I directed basically 5 films for Blizzard before they made me a director. If you think of it that way, like I did 2 stop motion shorts and then 3 other 2D shorts before they were like, okay, now you're a director, right? They gave me the title. So it's like it's a lot of paying dues. And then there's just all the dues over the last 26 years of me making short films on my own, right? So you're learning the whole process and building a portfolio, and like it's wild. Since we've started our business here the last 2 years, I think we put out like 8 short films in 2 years.
Wow.
Like that's a lot. Anyone who's ever made a film, especially an animated film, 2D, stop motion, whatever it is, that's a lot. And
Mm-hmm.
and it's amazing to see our own progression, not only in, like, you have to make choices when you're working on certain budgets, or there's limitations to what you can do as far as the big stuff or the storytelling or whatever, but it's all filmmaking, and it's all things that me and my wife have directed and written, so it's really cool.
Well, I want to wish you all the luck in the world to getting your studio up and running. It sounds like it's already up and running, and you just have to keep going with it. And do you have any advice for like students out there that want to like get into stop motion or whatever,
uh
doing what you do?
yeah, I get asked this one all the time, like on online and stuff like that, but like the biggest thing about stop motion is like, and I know it's not always popular, is like you do not have to go to school to learn stop motion. You can absolutely save that money, go online, and start practicing and learning. Buy a couple of books, Animator Survival Kit to help you learn the craft of animation, 2D animation, but you can apply it to your directly to your stop motion. A stop motion filmmaker's guide will show you all kinds of the process as far as building armatures, puppets. It really goes through the whole filmmaking process, including lighting and camera. Like those 2 things, if you saved your money and just did those and then just started exploring, go to stopmotionanimation.com. That's where I started when I knew nothing, all on the forums. Interact with a bunch of the people there. A lot of people can guide you in the right way when you have questions, and really just start practicing, having fun, and see what you enjoy. Right? If you like puppet making, maybe you go towards that and focus on that, because that's where your job will end up being. If you like animation, head towards that. Really focus on becoming a professional animator, getting your skill set to a professional quality so you can get out there and find a job. But more than anything, I think it's like focus and hard work, and you will get there. I always say hard work's the easy part. Hard work's the easy part. You just got to decide what you want, and then go for it. Grind.
If people want to contact you at your studio, yeah, could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, we have our website, of course, stuntpuppetpictures.com, that anyone could apply to if they have a portfolio, like, anything from puppet making to animation, lighting, DP, any of that stuff is really valuable. And because we live in Lower Oregon, right? So the hotbed is Los Angeles, the hotbed is Portland. And the reason we moved to Lower Oregon is because it's affordable, one, and we could have a chunk of land where we could build a studio with a less expense than we would, anywhere else in those 2 places. But we have to build a team here. So we are like literally the DP who's shooting the live action thing in the forest is coming up from LA. He's a buddy from LA. I have an animator coming to help me because I have 3 jobs. I can't do it all myself. Is coming up for 3 weeks. One of my students is coming up to help animate on the Brooder stuff. So like I'm having to bring people down. Like there's a lighting guy that came down to help on one of our last He-Man projects, and like from Portland. But we are slowly trying to build our team here. So yeah, anyone that's interested, especially young people, like they're the ones that are kind of willing to kind of go to places that are a little goofy. And the new studio that we have we're building housing in it too to house people that are visiting workers. So we will have an apartment. We have two places that visiting artists can basically have their own place, and they don't have to pay rent while they're working here, um, or hotels and stuff like that. So we will definitely have that as part of the package for anyone who comes up.
Well, there you have it. That was an interview with Justin Rasch. I hope you enjoyed that. And if you're interested in learning more about his work, he does have a YouTube channel that you can go to. And he also has a studio website if you're interested in learning more about that. And it was great to talk to him. It sounded like he's been doing a lot of work, and now he's going to go off and make his own kind of films with his own studio. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. And if you did, you can press this button right here. Yes, that subscribes you to this channel. Or you can scroll down and look at other interviews and things I have down there. Or you can look at these two videos here. They're pretty good. Anyway, we'll see you next time on Animated Educated.